Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Y&R Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Under the golden glow of the Abbott living room, tension hung in the air so thick it could have been cut with a knife. Jack Abbott stood frozen, eyes locked on Nikki Newman, whose trembling lips formed the words that would unravel decades of buried lies. "This is your father." She turned toward Matt, her voice crackling with emotion, and her hand trembled as it pointed at Jack. For a moment no one breathed. Time seemed to stall between the three of them, a shattered triangle of secrets, heartbreak and revelation. As the weight of Nikki's confession hit him squarely in the chest, Jack's mind spun and his world tilted. Matt Clark was his son. His son. The words echoed like thunder through his head, tearing apart everything he thought he knew about his past, his choices and his love for Nikki. "No," Jack whispered, his voice barely audible, his throat dry. That's not possible. "Nikki, what are you saying?" But Nikki's tearful eyes showed him that it was true. Every hurtful, shocking statement. Nikki exhaled deeply with trembling and focused on Jack's shocked expression. "I didn't want to do this now," she whispered, her voice cracking with years of guilt. "I didn't want it to come out this way, but it has to. You deserve the truth, Jack. You always did." Jack could barely process the words. His heart pounded in his chest, images flashing through his mind, the wild nights he and Nikki had shared, the emotional aftermath of Victor's betrayals, the way she disappeared one summer, claiming she needed space. That was the same summer she left town, and months later, rumors spread that she'd been hiding out with a secret. He chalked it up to her needing to escape the Newman-Abbott chaos. But now, standing before her, seeing the tears streaking down her face and Matt's confusion growing by the second, it all came crashing together in a painful, impossible puzzle that suddenly made sense. "Jack," Nikki said again, stepping closer, her voice trembling but firm. "When I left town back then I was pregnant. I didn't tell you because I didn't even know for sure who the father was at first. My life was chaos, Victor was furious, you and I were off and on, and I panicked." She pressed a hand to her chest, her breath shuddering. "When I found out I was carrying your child, I thought I was protecting everyone by keeping it a secret. I thought I was sparing you. But I was wrong." Jack staggered backward, gripping the edge of the sofa for balance. His world was tilting. "You what?" His voice was sharp, full of disbelief. "You found out? You knew he was mine and you didn't tell me?" He laughed bitterly, though there was no humor in the sound. "All these years, Nikki. All the times we talked, the times we almost found our way back to each other. And you were hiding my own son from me?" Matt's head snapped back and forth between them, his eyes wide, searching for truth. "Wait, what are you saying?" he demanded, his voice breaking. "Are you saying Jack Abbott is my father? That everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie?" His breath came fast, ragged. "You can't just drop something like that on me." Nikki reached for him, her voice raw with regret. "Matt, please, I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I should have told you years ago, I know that now. But I was scared. You were so young. And your life was already filled with enough pain and confusion after what happened with Victor. I didn't want to disrupt your remaining stability." Jack's anger and pain twisted his face. "Stability?" he spat. "You thought lying to your own son and keeping him from his father would give him stability? Nikki, you've always said you wanted honesty. That secrets destroy families. And now you tell me I've been walking around Genoa City all this time with my own son right under my nose." Nikki wiped at her tears, her voice quivering. "You have to understand, Jack. I didn't even know if you would want him. You were dealing with your own battles back then, Dina's illness, Ashley's breakdowns, your own demons. I convinced myself I was doing the right thing. But watching everything fall apart again lately, watching you suffer, watching Matt fight his way through so much pain, I couldn't keep lying anymore." Jack's expression softened for a fleeting second as he looked at her, the woman he once loved so deeply, the mother of his newly discovered son. But then his anger surged again. "You took away my right to know, Nikki. My son's right to know." His voice broke as he turned toward Matt, his eyes glistening. "Matt, I had no idea. If I had known." Matt shook his head, disbelief etched across his face. Just don't say you would have been there," he said bitterly. Because where were you when I needed a father? Where were you when I was growing up wondering why I never fit anywhere? He took a step back, his hands shaking. I've spent my whole life trying to understand who I am, and now you're telling me I'm an abbot? His voice cracked, and his anger gave way to pure confusion. Everything I thought I knew about myself, about my mother, it's all a lie. Nikki sobbed softly. I didn't mean for it to come out like this, sweetheart. I was going to tell you both. I just didn't know how. But Jack wasn't done. When? He demanded, his voice sharp with pain. When it was too late. When one of us was buried in the earth. Nikki, you've done a lot of things in your life, and I've forgiven you for most, but this? He shook his head. This cannot be forgiven. Nikki's shoulders slumped. I don't expect forgiveness, Jack. I simply could not allow the truth to die with me. Matt deserved to know who his father really is. You deserve to know too. Whatever happens now, I had to set things right. Jack's eyes glistened as decades of history flashed before him. The love, the heartbreak, the betrayals that had shaped both their lives. And now this. The idea that he had a son, not a nephew, not a distant connection, but a son, changed everything. He looked at Matt, seeing now the similarities he'd ignored for years. The stubborn jawline, the intensity in his eyes, the fire that reminded him so much of himself at that age. How had he not seen it before? Matt, Jack said quietly, his voice trembling, I don't expect you to believe this right away. I barely believe it myself. However, if there is one thing I can assure you right now, it is that if I had known, I would have been there for you. I would have done anything for you. Matt stared at him, his chest heaving, torn between anger and heartbreak. You can't just walk into my life now and fix it, he said, his voice cracking. You can't just claim me because you found out today. You weren't there when I needed a dad. You don't know what I went through. And I think he's the reason you're lying in that hospital bed. Noah's expression darkened. You're wrong. Both of you. Leave. The heartbreak in his voice was undeniable. As they left, Sharon turned back, whispering, Please be careful. He's not who you think he is. Later that night, Sienna stormed into the shadow room again, where Mitch was nursing a drink at the bar. Her face was pale but determined. We need to talk, she said sharply. Not now, he muttered, eyes glued to his glass. Yes, now. She slid her phone across the counter, showing him the picture of Matt Clark. Who is this? She demanded. He glanced at it briefly, feigned confusion, and handed it back. Some guy from the past? But Sienna pressed on. Don't lie to me. You look exactly like him. You've been hiding something from me since the day we met. Did you use me to get to the Newmans? Did you cause Noah's crash? Her voice broke, but her stare was steel. Tell me the truth, Mitch. He turned to her slowly, his eyes darkening. You have no idea what you're talking about, he said, but the tremor in his tone betrayed him. When she refused to back down, he snapped. His voice suddenly sharp, his jaw tightening. You're making a big mistake, Sienna. She pulled out her phone again. Then I'll let the cops figure it out. That's when his entire expression changed. His eyes went cold, his smile vanished, and in a voice low enough to make her blood run cold, he said, You do that, and it'll be the last mistake you ever make. The words hung between them like a death sentence. And across town, Sharon was unraveling further. She couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't stop replaying every moment with Mitch. Every time he denied being Matt, every smirk, every flicker of familiarity. Her calls to Phyllis and Nick went unanswered, leaving her alone with her spiraling fear. She stared at the city lights through tear-blurred eyes, whispering, What if he's right here watching us again? When her phone buzzed, she snatched it up, only to see an unknown number. A chill ran down her spine as she listened to the silence on the other end. Then came a single word, low and haunting. Soon. By morning, everything had changed. The whispers around town had spread. Sharon's confrontation with Mitch had gone viral thanks to a bystander's video. Public opinion was turning against her. People said she'd harassed an innocent man. But those who knew Sharon best, Nick, Phyllis, even Mariah, could see the fear in her eyes and knew something far darker was brewing. Because if Mitch really was Matt Clark, then his plan was only beginning. Back at the Abbott table, Billy and Sally sat close, oblivious to the storm gathering elsewhere. For the first time in months, they felt like partners in both business and life. To new beginnings, Billy toasted softly. Sally smiled. And to second chances. But as their glasses clinked, neither noticed the news alert flashing silently on Billy's phone. A headline about a confrontation at the shadow room that ended with threats, accusations, and the words Matt Clark trending once again. Back at the shadow room, Sienna stood frozen as her husband walked away, his warning still echoing in her ears. Her mind replayed every strange moment, every hidden glance, every lie that now felt like a red flag she'd ignored. She whispered to herself, "Who are you, Mitch?" But deep down she already knew. The truth was clawing its way to the surface, and no amount of denial could stop it now. And so, as the city settled into uneasy silence, one thing became clear. The ghosts of the past were no longer content to stay buried. Sharon's wrath had awakened something dangerous, Sienna's suspicions had crossed a line she couldn't uncross, and Mitch, or Matt, was on the edge of something catastrophic. Whether he was dying, desperate, or just diabolically clever, one thing was certain. Before this was over, someone wouldn't make it out alive. Because in the world of the young and the restless, revenge isn't just personal. It's generational. And the night Sharon grabbed Mitch Bacall's arm and swore she'd end him? That was the night the past finally came roaring back to life. The next morning dawned gray over Los Angeles, the kind of morning that feels like it's holding its breath before a storm. The city was alive with whispers. The shadow room incident had exploded online. The altercation between Sharon Newman and Mitch Bacall was no longer merely a private meltdown. It was a worldwide trend. Security footage and witness clips were circulating, painting her as unstable, violent, and unhinged. But those who truly knew Sharon, those who had survived her wars with Adam, Phyllis, and Matt Clark himself, knew better. Her fear was memory, not madness. The memories of every scream, every lie, every terror Matt Clark ever inflicted had come roaring back to the surface, and now it was too late to turn back. Inside her hotel room, Sharon was pacing like a caged tiger. Her phone had been buzzing nonstop. Texts from Faith, from Mariah, from even Victor, demanding to know what she had done. But Sharon couldn't focus on any of them. Sharon's hand was gripping Mitchell's arm as he was caught mid-turn at the bar, and she kept staring at a still image frozen on her laptop screen. The comments beneath the video were brutal. "She's lost it again. Matt Clark died decades ago. This woman needs help." Her hand trembled as she reached for her phone. "Nick, please pick up," she whispered. When his voicemail answered for the third time, her voice cracked. "You have to believe me. I didn't imagine it." He looked me right in the eyes and smirked the way Matt used to. "Nick, he's come back. I know it's him. I don't care what anyone says. I know what I saw." When she hung up, tears welled in her eyes. She was terrified, not only because she might be correct but also because she might be the only one. Across town, Nick was in a different kind of turmoil. He'd spent the night in the hospital parking lot, sitting in his truck trying to process everything. He couldn't shake Sharon's voice echoing in his head. "Matt Clark is alive." The words sounded insane, but his gut told him something was off. The way Sienna flinched when he brought up her husband, the way Mitch avoided eye contact when they crossed paths at the crash scene. It all lined up too neatly. He didn't believe in coincidences. When Michael Baldwin called that morning, Nick was ready to move. "If there's even a chance this guy's identity isn't real," Nick said, "I want to know who he really is." Michael sighed, his lawyer instincts kicking in. "You realize how this looks, right? Mitch Bacall is a legitimate businessman, legally documented, married with a spotless record. You dig too deep, you could be opening yourself up to a defamation suit." Nick's voice became harder. "I don't care. If he's Matt Clark, then this is war." Meanwhile, at the shadow room, Mitch Bacall, if that was his name at all, was seething beneath the surface. He swirled a glass of whiskey that he had not touched while sitting by himself in his private booth. His expression was composed, his posture was controlled, but his thoughts were racing. The cracks were beginning to show. Sharon's public confrontation had shaken him, forced him into the spotlight he had carefully avoided for decades. For 20 years he'd built a new life, a new identity, and now one woman's relentless obsession threatened to unravel it all. His jaw clenched as Sienna approached the entrance. She looked fragile but determined, her eyes red from crying. He motioned her over, his voice deceptively calm. You shouldn't be here. I have every right to be here, she snapped back. I'm your wife. That's what I keep telling myself, he muttered, sipping his drink. She sat down across from him, sliding her phone across the table again. The same image of Matt Clark stared up from the screen. I looked up everything I could find, she said, her voice trembling but strong. His crimes. His victims. The explosion that supposedly killed him. He died in Genoa City, Nick and Sharon's hometown. Her eyes locked on his. You moved us here from London because of them, didn't you? He chuckled softly, but there was no warmth in it. You've been busy. Stop dodging me, Mitch. Or Matt. Whoever you are. Her voice cracked on his name. You claimed to love me. You said I was safe with you. But now I'm not even sure if the man I married ever existed. He leaned forward slowly, his expression cold and eerily still. Be careful what you accuse me of, Sienna. You have no idea what's at stake. Then tell me the truth, she pleaded. Did you cause Noah's crash? His silence was answer enough. When she rose from her seat, tears burning down her cheeks, he grabbed her wrist, not hard enough to hurt, but just enough to remind her of the power he still held. If you go to the police, he said softly, you'll destroy both of us. Sienna yanked free, her heart hammering, and fled the bar. She didn't stop running until she reached her car, shaking as she locked the doors. That was when her phone buzzed with a new message, from an unknown number. She opened it and her blood turned to ice. It was a photo of her and Noah kissing in the hospital, taken from outside the door. Beneath it, a message. Do not test me again. Across town, Sally Spectra's day had taken a surprising turn. After last night's heartfelt conversation with Billy, she felt a flicker of something she hadn't in a long time: hope. But as she scrolled through the morning news on her phone, her optimism evaporated. Oh my God, she muttered, reading the headline. Businessman Mitch Bacall harassed by woman claiming he's a dead man. She immediately thought of Nick and Sharon. Billy noticed her distracted look as he walked into the lounge, fresh from a jog, sweat still glistening on his temples. What's wrong? He asked, grabbing a towel. Sally hesitated. It's Sharon. She's all over the news. She's accusing some guy, Sienna's husband, of being Matt Clark. Billy froze mid-step. Matt Clark. His tone darkened. That name shouldn't still be floating around. You knew him. Everyone in Genoa City knew him, Billy muttered. He was pure poison. The kind of guy who smiled while ruining lives. Sally frowned. Well, if he really is alive, that's a nightmare waiting to happen. But if Sharon's wrong, Billy finished her thought. Then she's just handed a stranger the ammunition to destroy her. The conversation left a chill in the air. Billy promised to call Nick and check in, but deep down, he knew that once Sharon Newman was on a collision course with someone like Matt Clark, real or imagined, there was no stopping her.